gentlemen. It is good to have you here today. I know everyone is super excited for this. So hook me up with your favorite DFS plays for this Jaguars-Bengals showdown. I will start with you, young Kenneth. Who was your pick for captain?
Yes. Oh, I'm so happy I'm going first, so that way these guys have to scramble. Because, yeah, the obvious pick here is Jamar Chase. You got no T. Higgins out there for Cincinnati. You got a terrible Jaguars secondary. Jamar Chase comes in at 15.3K, and he is the best captain option despite being the fourth most expensive captain. I think that you could also look at Joe Burrow here if you really wanted to. You really just penny pockets, or I don't know, there's some name that you could give people. But look, you have deep pockets and you want to pay for Joe Burrow. But I think that he should be going to Jamar Chase even more than normal. Chase is the second on the team in targets, and he should continue to see more here. He's just done a really good job of catching deep balls this year. I think he finds the end zone again. But I think, either here or if you want to spend down and go to Tyler Boyd at 11.1, I mean, he is the target leader on the Bengals, so get even more. One of those two guys are a solid captain pick.
Yeah, Geoff, I know it's hard to push against like Jamar Chase. I know we mentioned it yesterday on the award-winning edition of the Slate on Wednesday night with Reed Fowler.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. Look, and Kenny's, he's on the right track here, but I do think Tyler Boyd is a superior option. There's a big gap in price we're talking about here. It's not small. I mean, it's $4,000 between Boyd and Jamar Chase, and you're looking at a player in Tyler Boyd who leads the Bengals in targets. What has Jacksonville done bad? Well, they've done everything bad, quite frankly, but they've been bad against slot receivers. Christian Kirk, over 100 yards against them. Danny Amendola scored a touchdown against them in week 1. This is a really good matchup for Tyler Boyd. You've got Joe Burrow playing at a really efficient rate right now. Their O-line took a step up last week. I think you might see Boyd lead the Bengals in targets and potentially just all receiving categories here, as Jacksonville obviously very frightened about the speed and downfield ability of Jamar Chase. I think they probably let off the gas a little bit on Boyd. And I think from a DFS perspective, the big thing is here, again, it's so much cheaper to roster Boyd. He allows you so much more flexibility. I think he's the better play in the captain spot.
Yeah, only 11-1 in the captain spot. Again, anyone new to the program, it's 1.5 times the salary, but you get 1.5 times the points. AJ, who you paying up for?
Well, look, I agree with the Boyd pick here, but I'll give you another option, and that's Joe Mixon. A little bit more expensive, obviously, but you consider the Jags have allowed 28.8 fantasy points on DraftKings to running backs through the first 3 games. Mixon, for his part, has accounted for 83.8% of the Bengals' rush attempts as their lead back option. Clearly, he's the number one. Yeah, he's not a big factor in the passing game, but he is still 4th on the team in total targets, and that's without T. Higgins, who will be out again. So if you're looking for something other than Boyd, maybe take Joe Mixon as an option here.
One of the biggest storylines tonight is a battle of the last 2 number 1 overall picks here. Geoff, is Joe Burrow the guy you are stacking with your captain?
So yes, but Joe Burrow is also such an obvious play here that I'm going to talk about what you should do on the other side. If you captain Tyler Boyd, I really think you should get James Robinson in your lineup here. Robinson's carries have gone up in each of the first 3 games. Again, Jacksonville finding out very quickly that they don't really want Trevor Lawrence throwing 50 times a game because that leads to more interceptions. I think that theme is going to continue here. The Bengals defense has been good in all facets, but I think it's a little bit more attackable on the ground here. And James Robinson averaging 5.2 yards per carry. He's been the bright spot on that offense. He's going to continue to get work. He's also worked well as a receiver. He's 12 for 15 in terms of converting targets. His targets have been really, really consistent. James Robinson is the guy you need to get on your roster on the other side. Regardless if you go Chase or Boyd, James Robinson is the guy I would stack with your Cincinnati Bengal captain.
All right, AJ, how about you, dude? Who's stacking?
Yeah, I mean, look, Trevor Lawrence might be the obvious stack play here, but again, you have to look at what the Jags have done. They've been one of the worst teams against the pass here, giving up 23.5 fantasy points to QBs through the first 3 weeks. I think that continues, and I just don't see how you get away. If you're going to use Travis Boyd, look, his production's dependent on one other guy, and that's Joe Burrow. So might as well double down on the points. If they score a touchdown, you're looking at 1.5 for Boyd and 1 for Burrow. So it's a must do in my opinion.
All right, how about you, Kenny? Joe Burrow seems like the obvious choice.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's the Bengals defense at $5,600. This is what you want to do here. You want to play the Bengals D with the high-priced Bengals receivers and running backs and quarterbacks. I think that this is going to be a pretty dominant night. When you look at last week, 4 sacks, 2 picks against Pittsburgh. I actually don't think that they're as bad as people say they are right now. I think that that's a decent team. And the fact that they just absolutely got obliterated by this Bengals defense, I think says a lot. Now you look at the Jaguars. 3 giveaways per game, that is dead last in football, and giveaway, or turnover rate ratio, by the way. So, yeah, I think that the Jaguars have another terrible night here. Sorry, Emerson. I think
okay.
Trevor Lawrence, the flea flicker interception last night was the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
And I think that perhaps you get a big night here for the Bengals and not a lot of points from the Jaguars.
He's had some really ugly interceptions. Now, half of them have not been his fault. I'll give him that. I'm not making an excuse. But that one on the flea flicker last Sunday was his worst by far, Kenny. I will agree with you for once on that. AJ, a lot of mid to high price wide receivers. Maybe like one you haven't mentioned already. Do you have a favorite one?
Yeah, I actually like Scholz at 6,600 here. He's a player that, his targets have declined in each of the 3 weeks, and last season was a low of just 4. But he remains the third most targeted player on the Jags. He comes in at just 6,600, so it's not going to break the bank for you, and has been getting opportunities. So TDs haven't been there. It's definitely, more GPP than cash game play, absolutely. But at that price range, I think he's worth consideration.
All right, Kenny, how about you, dude?
Yeah, I'm kind of stunned. I didn't think that I was going to hear a LaVisca Chenault call, but I did. And I did want to talk about him because, look, I do think that he's the best, maybe the best receiver on the board here. Look, he's a guy that competes for the ball, very, very good at catching in traffic. But the biggest reason I like him is because he should be seeing a lot of coverage from Eli Apple, one of PFF's worst quarterbacks in football this year. And he's on like his 5th team now. But any way you slice it, all of these guys in the secondary for the Jaguars, or for the Bengals rather, are not very good. So although I do like this defense and they have, managed to get some picks, I think that Chenault is certainly a guy I'd look at here in a pretty soft matchup with Eli Apple to have a nice game.
Yeah, he's still waiting to score his first touchdown this season. Meanwhile, you got Marvin Jones and DJ Chark, who have already scored twice. Geoff, what about you, dude?
I like the Chenault call. I do. He's the cheapest Jacksonville receiver. He could have the softest matchup. I'm going way cheaper than this, though. I'm going down to $400. Auden Tate played over 50% of the snaps last week. Once T. Higgins went out, T. Higgins ruled out in this game. Mike Thomas, not the real Mike Thomas, the other Mike Thomas, and Auden Tate going to be mixed in. But Auden Tate is the guy who saw the snaps. And I think, again, you've just got, these guys pop up in Showdown, using Auden Tate at $400 is going to give you so much room to do whatever you want with the rest of the studs in this game. I really like this play just because of the fact that, if this guy finds the end zone, you have a massive edge. Even if he doesn't find the end zone, you still might have the massive edge because of the salary flexibility. Let's get a couple targets. Let's go Auden Tate. I think we can do this, folks. I think we're going to get there.
We'll get you guys out of here with your best value play. Need you to be quick on this one, Kenny. We're running tight on time.
Yeah, I thought we were going to do this now, not before, Geoff. Auden Tate, $400, absolutely. Carlos Hyde, $1,800 as well. I kind of like him. Played a lot of snaps last week and got a lot of carries. Eight carries on 23 snaps.
Awesome. Geoff?
Yeah, look, obviously I just brought up a $400 receiver, Auden Tate, so we can go with that. I think CJ Azuma at $4,000, also good value, though.
All right, AJ, bring us home, dude.
I thought I was going to have the cheapest off the board play here, but I'll go Jacob Hollister for $1,000. Targeted 6 times, including once in the red zone, 2 catches for 15 yards. I know they brought in another tight end on the weekend, but I think he'll still be the primary option when you have just a week of practice for Dan Arnold.